It's finished. Arsenal 0, Liverpool 2. That is a massive game for Liverpool. It looks like they're steamrolling their way to a very, very successful and at least interesting season. Because I don't think anyone saw Liverpool being top of the league, winning FA Cup games in this manner. They look imperious. It's as simple as that. And then Arsenal, I mean, it's so bad how bad their form's been. They look so short of confidence defensively. Going forward, Mikel Arteta, I think, is getting things wrong. And this game was huge. I said it on the channel a couple of days ago. It was a massive opportunity for both managers to instill confidence for Jurgen Klopp going forward into the Premier League title race, and for Mikel Arteta to bring some confidence back into the Arsenal side. Use a bit of rotation. Use the fact that the FA Cup game feels a bit more of a free swing. Get the atmosphere going at the Emirates. It felt flat. You had Arsenal fans leaving early. And I don't know where Arsenal go from here. I think they need major surgery in the transfer market. It might take a couple of years. I still think they need another striker. They still need more players going forward that can hurt sides. Let's talk about Liverpool to start off with, though, because they've won the game. They've gone to the Emirates. They've gone to a side. They've gone to Arsenal at home in the FA Cup under the lights. It should be a really daunting, challenging game, and it felt very, very easy. And that, for me, alludes to the quality of Jurgen Klopp versus someone like Mikel Arteta. It felt like the master versus the apprentice in this game. Because Liverpool, I think, that they've got a lot of quality going forward. They know exactly what they're doing, of course. But in reality, how they soaked up the pressure in midfield. Someone like Alexis McAllister as well, absolutely superb. The centre-backs for Liverpool, Konate, Trent. The keeper was fantastic. Liverpool have done this. They've won FA Cups in the last few years. They've won every domestic trophy, of course, and the Champions League with this kind of side. They know when the pressure's really on. They know when they're really getting smashed. And they know when someone like Kai Havertz is running through on goal. It doesn't mean a lot. It doesn't mean a lot, really. They're not... Arsenal always going to have chances, but I felt that Liverpool didn't really fear Arsenal. They didn't really ever concern themselves about what was happening in their back line. They just took a kind of a patient approach to the game. They waited for their opportunities and they picked off Arsenal with ease. I'll give you a game this reminds me of. It reminds me of the Champions League game in 2008, 2009, when it was Arsenal versus Man United in the Champions League. Was it semi-finals? Absolutely crazy. Ronaldo hit Arsenal on the counter-attack with Ji-Sung Park and Wayne Rooney. It felt a little bit like that when Diaz scored. I know it is obviously an inconsequential kind of period of the game. To get 2-0 up in the 90th minute is different to 45 minutes into the game, of course. But it just felt like Liverpool used all their experience. They used their top-level manager to instill trust in the players, and they sat there and hit them on the counter-attack. The ball gets whipped in as well, and Kiwior, I think who it is, scores an own goal. I think he's shown now in the last couple of games that he's not to the level that Arsenal need. Arsenal are a big football club. They need players that come in. It's not about having these kind of quaint, young, semi-interesting players that no one's ever heard of. You want some real metal in the squad. You want someone that's going to come in and really challenge. And Kiwior, he's young. I think he's talented. I think he was decent last season for Arsenal. But even then, you think there are moments where he didn't quite shore up the defence enough for Arsenal to concede less goals than they needed to win the Premier League last season. Rob Holding was obviously guilty of that as well, culpable of that, and he's not kicked on either. So Kiwior, Rob Holding, someone like Reece Nelson for Arsenal, nowhere near good enough. But we were talking about Liverpool. Someone like Diaz for me, I thought was absolutely exceptional. I think he's an away game kind of player. I think he loves when he can run at players as a counter-attacking player. I think he struggles a little bit when he's got all of the ball and he's at Anfield. I'm not saying he's had bad games at Anfield, but I think he loves those away days. He can run into space because he feels the pressure on the home side. I think he feels a little bit freer when he's an away player. And you could see that today. The finish was absolutely beautiful. And people will say, oh, it was really a 1-0 game and Arsenal had a load of chances. No, they've lost 2-0 to Liverpool, and it meant more. It's that these are two sides in the Premier League title race. If Arsenal had lost in the FA Cup to Man United, it's a different narrative. This narrative is there are two sides going for the Premier League title. Arsenal were one of them only a couple of weeks ago, and they've lost to Liverpool in the FA Cup. That is significant. They lost to Man City in the FA Cup last season, and it gave City the confidence and the understanding of how to beat Arsenal in these kind of games. And guess what? Liverpool play Arsenal in the league very, very soon. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. especially if you're a Liverpool fan. Where do Arsenal go from here? I'm not so sure. They need some big experience in the transfer market. I think they need to go out and sign. But it's not about signing over 30-year-olds like Jorginho. It made very little sense for me, Jorginho. But it's not about signing 20-year-old prospects either. They have to get it right and sign someone who's ready to play now and is ready to go and can impact the side for 2-3 years. A bit like how Man United signed Casemiro. Obviously, I know it was at the start of last season, so it wasn't a January transfer, but they signed Casemiro with the idea that he could improve the midfield right now. Arsenal have to go out and find a striker that can improve the forward line right now. Maybe that's Ivan Toney. It's hard because he hasn't played football for a long time. I feel like we talk about it a lot in the media. Ivan Toney is hard. It's hard to get transfers done in January of that kind of magnitude, but Arsenal have to look at it and think, if they play the soft game and think, right, we're going to wait till next year, City will only be stronger, Man United will, maybe with Ineos, get better, Chelsea, Spurs, Villa, it almost feels like it will get more competitive next year. Arsenal still have an ability to be in and amongst the mix of winning the Premier League. They've now got no FA Cup games. They've got a Champions League run that they could have a go at as well. So the transfer market for me is absolutely imperative for Arsenal. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let's just wrap on Liverpool. They look imperious. They look dominant. They look like they can win everything that they're playing for this season. And that is down to the genius of Jurgen Klopp. There's a touching moment where he goes over to maybe not touching, but it was a powerful moment where he goes over to the Liverpool fans. He looks ominous. He looks like an Alex Ferguson, Mourinho type figure. He is one of those, in my opinion, in Premier League history for what he's done for Liverpool. Bringing the Premier League title back to Merseyside is so important, so impressive as well. And he looks like a manager that looks absolutely switched on for winning the Premier League, winning the FA Cup, winning the Europa League as well. I'm sure he'll be thinking about just as many trophies as possible, because the genius of Jurgen Klopp, I don't know how he does it. He's going to have to write a book like Tony Robbins about motivation, because you see some clubs, and that's why Guardiola is a genius as well. You see some clubs where the competition creates a drop-off. If it's the League Cup, if it's the FA Cup, players realise the significance of it is less. There's a different set of fans there. There's maybe a few more empty seats if it's the early rounds of the League Cup, for example. The genius of Jurgen Klopp is he treats that FA Cup game against Arsenal as a signifier, as a moment to create momentum, to create belief that Liverpool can go to Arsenal and get 3 points off them in the league title race. They've got the standard to beat Man City. Arsenal beaten Man City this season. Arsenal competed with Man City last season, and now they've beaten Arsenal in the FA Cup, and they believe they can beat them in the league. So it means that momentum carries them on to thinking that they can beat Man City in the big Premier League game. I think it's in March. So it all belief builds belief, and there's momentum at Liverpool. And I would be very, very concerned if I was a Pep Guardiola, if I was a Mikel Arteta, because I think they've got more belief than the other sides on some level. I think they've got more momentum this season. And then they've got quality. Konate, Trent, McAllister, Alisson, and Diaz, I thought were absolutely exceptional. Probably small criticism would be Núñez. I think he missed a couple of chances today. And I think that will be an issue going forward because he still misses chances. And a couple of them were absolute sitters as well. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. But it was a huge win for Liverpool and an equally bad one for Arsenal as well.